Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man ihtada bihudahu ila yawm ad-din, amma ba'd. Dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 40 of our commentary on Qwa'id Attasawuf, Principles of Sufism, by Imam Ahmad Zarruq rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And we've reached to principle number 183. Please, Sister Ashaki, please read. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Principle 183. Anger is an ember in the heart which fades away in the person in whom it has become, and in whom it had become inflamed rightly or wrongly. If the possessor of this ember is in the right, his anger will amount to nothing because of the power of his generous disposition, out of which the anger originated. If he is in the wrong, the matter will continue to subside until it fades away. God has praised the believers for their helping one another for the sake of the truth. For he, Most High, said, and those who, when an oppressive wrong is inflicted on themselves, do help themselves. Then he recommended that they be forgiven. But whosoever pardons and puts things right, his reward is due from God. It has been said, among the noble traits of character is to forgive him who has wronged you. In the hadith, God Most High said to him who prayed for revenge upon his oppressor, You pray for revenge upon the one who has oppressed you, and the one whom you have oppressed does the same against you. If I grant a prayer for you, I shall grant the prayer against you. The Prophet said,
Yes. Carry on.
Is it difficult for any of you to be like Abu Damdam? However, in Al-Bukhari, they dislike to be humiliated, and when they had the upper hand, they would be forgiving. This is the core of one's obligation, of the strength of the believer, of his carrying out the requirements of the law, and is the essence of noble character. But Allah knows best.
Okay, so here he's still speaking about morals, manners, and stuff like that. So he says here that anger is like an ash in the heart that can burn a lot of things. The one who starts it would be burned by it. No matter it's by a real matter, truth matter, or a false matter. So, if the one who started this anger was right, so he won't stop until the bad things would stop. What made you angry, which means you saw something against the law, you saw something against Islam, so you became so angry, you won't stop unless you see it changed. But if you were angry because of something bad or something false, because you saw something that you wanted it to happen and it's bad and it's false, so therefore you would stay going back until you finish. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the believers because they become angry for the truth. You become angry because you saw things against the law. You become angry, for example, because you saw your children not praying. You become angry because you saw your husband drinking. You become angry because you saw your wife went out without hijab. You become angry. So you become angry because of something really makes you angry. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَهُمُ الْبَغِي هُمْ يَنْتَصِرُونَ. The ones that when they see something bad, they revenge. And then he said that if you forgive and fix things, that'll be your reward would be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are asked to forgive people who do bad things to us. Okay, now you have to differentiate between being angry because of the truth. The Prophet ﷺ, when he used to become angry, nothing stops on his face, ﷺ, because he doesn't become angry for himself. He becomes angry for the truth. He needs things to be right. But if it comes to him, he forgives. So you can forgive things that have to do with you, but not forgive for somebody cursed God. Somebody cursed the Prophet ﷺ. You say, well, I'll forgive him. It's not up to you to forgive. It's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, you have to not stop until this bad attitude finishes. And this is what you have to do, but it differs from a place to another place. Here the Prophet ﷺ said, doesn't any one of you, isn't it easy to be like Abu Damdam? What's the matter with Abu Damdam? He says when he comes out of his house, he says, oh Allah, I gave my essence I forgive everybody who does anything bad to me. This is what he wants to say. So the guy comes out of his house forgiving everybody. If you hit me, you curse me, you do. Now, I feel that as if Shaykh here doesn't differentiate between two types of anger. Anger for yourself, it's up to you to forgive. Anger for God Almighty, for the Prophet ﷺ, it's not up to you to forgive. You have to be serious about this. But when it comes to you, when are you allowed to forgive? Actually, when is forgiving a good attitude? It's when you can punish and then you stop. But when you are humiliated and and people keep on cursing you, hitting you, beating you, and then you say, well, I forgive. We have to be tolerant. No, that's not tolerance. That's humiliation. That's not tolerance. That's humiliation. You are humiliated. But when you can do it, you can forget. For example, somebody beat you, so you beat him, and then you put him on the floor, and then you wanted to give him the last hit, and then you said, you know what? Get out of here. I forgave you. So you forgave him. This is good because you forgave him and you can punish him. But when you forgive and you can't punish, that's not a good attitude. That's a bad attitude. That means you're weak. Okay? Okay. Okay, bismillah, carry on.
Principle 184.
But please, just raise up your voice a little bit so that it can be heard.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Principle 184. Nullification of bad qualities when they surface occurs by reacting against them, such as praising the envied party, invoking blessings upon the oppressor, and praising him in a beneficial manner, all of which are based on God's Most High saying, repel with that which is fairer, and behold, he between whom there is enmity shall be as if he were a loyal friend. And the prophets, saying, man is not free of three things: envy, doubt, and foreboding. When you feel envious, do not have any wants. If you see an evil omen, continue onwards. If you have a doubt, confirm it. Most cases point to pursuing the opposite course of action with regards to such things in order to repel their evil. It has been said, righteousness is that which does not harm the smallest particle. The believer is likened unto the earth, on which is put every ugliness, but from which only good things emerge. May God grant us well-being through his grace.
Okay. So he's still speaking about the morals and manners. And how do you change your bad manners or morals? It's with substituting it with good manners and morals. Like what? Well, you envied somebody. Go and say good things about him. Don't envy him. Somebody you treated him in a bad way. Pray Allah for him, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would guide him and help him. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that anybody who does bad things to you, do good things to him, and that would change the relationship to change you to be good friends. So somebody cursed you, smile in his face and tell him, I won't tell you that again. I won't tell you as you told me, because I have my morals and manners and stuff like that. Somebody did bad things to you, you try to make good things to him so that he becomes shame of himself, and he comes to you and asks you to forgive him. And this happens to the Prophet ﷺ. Once a Jew came to him and started saying bad things to him. And he said to him that you guys, son of Abdul Muttalib, all of you like this, you promise and you break your promises. So the Sahaba went so angry, they wanted to kill this Jew. He said, stop. You had to tell me to give him his right, and you had to be kind with him. So the guy was surprised. How come this? What is this? And he knew actually actually the Prophet ﷺ borrowed something from him, and the time still didn't come. So the appointment still didn't come, but he came early and he started doing this. So and then the Prophet ﷺ said, because we made you afraid, they frightened you, I'm going to give you back the thing that I took from you better than it. Immediately he became Muslim. He said, oh my God, this is... he says, I saw several things about you in our scriptures, and this was the last thing, that you don't treat who does bad things to you the same way. So I wanted to examine this, and I discovered that that's true, subhanAllah. And this happened with the Prophet ﷺ a lot in his life. He never revenges from anybody, against anybody for himself, except if it was in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this hadith here actually is not an authentic hadith, but the meaning can be right, which means that mankind always feels envy. But what is the best thing to do instead of envy? There is what is called in Arabic al-ghibta. What is ghibta? Instead of envying somebody, you would like to have what he has, but it'll stay with him. So now you're not envying him. Envy means you don't want it to stay. You want it to you don't want it to stay with him. You don't want that good thing to stay with him, and you want it you want to have it. No, this time you want to have like him, but you want it to stay with him. So this is not bad. And bad doubts about somebody, no, try to have good doubts and try to think in a good way. And this is actually from what is called superstitions. If we see an owl, or you see a black crow, or whatever, you say, oh my God, the whole day is going to be bad. So just don't do anything like that. Carry on and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you won't see, inshallah, anything bad. Okay? So therefore, this is what he wants to say. Carry on. Bismillah.
Principle 185.
Actually, we don't say carry on. We say it in Arabic, as my great grandfather used to say. He used to say zid. Zid, that means carry on. Zid, yeah.
Okay. Principle 185. Well-being is tranquility and calmness, whether for a reason or not. If it is due to God, then it is perfect well-being. Otherwise, it is not. The well-being of every people is according to their state, as has been discussed earlier, and the like applies to their discord. Ibn al-Arif said, inner strife has been...
Ibn al-Arif, not Ibn al-Arif, Ibn al-Arif. Ibn al-Arif.
Okay, I see it there. Yeah. Ibn al-Arif, inner strife has become common. It is one's ignorance of his values. Thus, it is necessary for the servant to consider well-being in himself for himself, so that strife not overtake him. Otherwise, he will fail materially and spiritually in promoting the welfare of others. So consider this point, for it is among one's duties, but God goes away.
Yeah. So actually, to be safety from any bad attitudes or morals or manners, your heart feels tranquil, and if you do that in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means that's the full tranquility, or the full, you're very good. But if it's not, well, that's not complete. And therefore, it differs from a person to another. And to be trialed or tried differs from a person to another. And here he mentions what Ibn al-Arif says. And I told you Ibn al-Arif several times. I mentioned that he's an Andalusian Sufi, great Sufi. And he has a book about this. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah has a commentary on his book. In his great book called طريق الهجرتين ومفتاح باب السعادتين. The way to the two migrations, the migration of the heart and the soul. Okay, so that book was one of the great books of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah. Ibn al-Qayyim, yes. So he says that that this trial in the heart is something that everybody has, and it comes from ignorance, a type of ignorance. So therefore, everybody has to see how to get rid of these types of things and purify his hearts, or else you will lose in your life and in your hereafter, in your religion and in your life. Okay, carry on.
Principle 186.
Yes.
What has no harmful effect on the outer body is simply to be considered a disturbance that is without benefit. Thus, one has been commanded to bear with patience anything harmful to one's honor, whether a word or a doubt, according to God Most High, saying, "Be patient with what they say," which is opposite to taking action. For the Prophet ﷺ ordered immigration with the Hijrah when the Meccans' intent was to harm him with action. He ﷺ said, "The believer is bright, intelligent, and cautious. 2/3 of him is disregard, that is, a disregard for words and doubt, not for actions." He ﷺ desired to avoid strife. Al-Bukhari said that this is a part of religion, so it is necessary to give it due consideration.
Oh, okay. So, anything that you have in your heart and it doesn't have any fruits out of your in your life, so don't consider it at all, because it's just gonna bother you. Therefore, anything that affects you in your essence by saying or by bad doubts, you are asked to be patient towards it, because it affects you. That's why the Prophet ﷺ was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ, be patient to what they say about you. But what did he tell them when they started beating him and hitting him? He was ordered, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to leave them, to migrate from the whole city of Mecca. Okay, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about the believer, actually this hadith actually is not an authentic hadith, but maybe he looked at the meaning of it, or else this hadith actually is not an authentic hadith. Yes, it's not an authentic hadith. But the meaning of it, it's supported by other narrations that are narrated, that are authentic. That actually you have to be, the believer is somebody who is smart and knows what to do, and is always aware of bad things. This means that he has to be like that, or else we can see a believer that is stupid. He can be a believer and stupid. I mean, there's no problem. He can be a believer and he doesn't know what to do. He can be a believer and he's naive. You can have people like that. So then he says that 2/3 of what he does is just, you don't pay attention to things. You know that things are there, but let me tell you something like that. For example, if you remark about anything in your house, you're gonna always, from the morning to the night, gonna fight with your children or your wife or your husband. Because if you don't find things as you want, you're gonna be angry. And therefore, you are asked to be patient and just as long as things are not haram, are not forbidden, just let this go until it goes to a serious matter. Sometimes the husband does something to his wife. The first time she doesn't speak, the second time, speak one time, not always. Vice versa. Sometimes you remark about your wife, about things, some things not good. She did something bad to you. But if you keep on remarking, the life won't stand firm. The life would destroy. So therefore, many things we just solve it by making ourselves, by not paying attention to it. This is it, yeah. And there's a great thing, is escape from all types of trials. Never go and say, well, I'm a strong guy. And I remember I had a student, and he was, mashallah, very, very close to me. And then he heard that in another place there are some brothers that changed. He became so angry, he said, I'm going to go to them and I'm going to change them again. I told him, I don't advise you to do so, because you're going to find them there all with each other. They have the leader, they have the one opinion. You're going to go between them as a weak guy. When he went there, he called me, and then I discovered that he was affected by those guys, and he changed, and now he became so far from me. So sorry to say that. So this is actually, so this is the idea. The idea is never try yourself. I remember I had a friend. He said that he's strong, mashallah. He's going to go and he's going to preach he was in that time in the university. This was a long time ago. He said he's going to go to women and start preaching between them and calling them to wear hijab and stuff like that. But after a little bit, he got lost. He got tried by these girls. And this happens. So therefore, never try yourself. Never say I'm strong. Never say I can stand it. No. Don't try yourself. Because no one knows himself. And ask Allah always to put you on the right path. Okay, carry on. Zeed.
Principle 187.
Yeah.
The perfection of a thing is to be sought in the mode of its beginning. The inheritor's portion is in proportion to what he inherits. For religion began as an exile and will again be in exile. It will not become complete in the time of its exile except through immigration, as happened at its onset. No prophet has had the support of all his people, but only a few. As Warqa said, no man has ever brought forth a similar thing as yours without being persecuted. For the relationship is always subject to the existence of evil. And thus, you never find a great man in religion, but he is exposed to that evil. As the hadith says, the people most prone to trials, and so forth.
Yeah, we spoke about this several times, actually. And therefore, if you are an inheritor of the Prophet ﷺ, if you are an heir of the Prophet ﷺ, therefore you have to inherit what happened to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ was insulted, so wait for people to insult you. Was humiliated by people that were close to him. Was abused, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he had to migrate from his beloved city, and he went to another city, and he entered battles, and he was injured. His teeth was broken. His helmet went inside his head. He got hurt. He bleeded. All these types of things happened to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you are a real Muslim, you have to wait for some things like this to happen to you. And we studied this in the 3 principles, if you remember. which is Surah Al-Asr, mentions these four categories: to believe, to act, to preach, and to be patient. Okay, and then as the most you are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most you have to wait for things more and more. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tries His beloved ones more than others. Zid?
Principle
Yes.
188. Acquiring moral qualities when the need arises through the disintegration of their opposite qualities is difficult unless a previous adjustment has been made. Otherwise, the seeker of these qualities will be fatigued. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, knowledge comes only through learning, and discernment comes only through reflection. He who seeks good will be given it. He who guards against evil will be protected. Abu Nu'aym quoted this in the rules for the scholar and the apprentice, but Allah knows best.
Yes. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay. Having good morals needs from you to make some pressure on yourself. Never say, well, that's how God created me. I can't change myself. No, you can change yourself. And you have to change yourself. Or else, what's the need to read holy texts? If holy texts don't change us, what's the need to read them? Why do we read the Prophet ﷺ's life? Why do we read his hadith? Why? If we're not going to change and we're not going to make an effort to change, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا, and the ones who struggle in our sake, لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا, we'll guide them on our path, right path. So this means that you have to do something. Or else, if you don't do that, you're the one who's going to lose. You're the loser. And therefore, he mentioned this hadith, although this hadith actually, we said that it's not an authentic hadith, but anyway, the meaning of it is right. That knowledge is by learning. And being patient or being tolerant with people, you have to make an effort for that. And anyone who searches for good things, he would get them. And anyone who gets aware from bad things, he will be aware from them. Okay, Zid. Okay, now here, this is a new chapter. I think that this is a new section. Maybe section 16 is the last section, I think. I don't know. So this is section number 16.
14?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is section 14.
It differs from an edition to another one. Yeah, carry on.
A man acknowledging his own faults and the blessings bestowed upon him by God without pursuing all the implications increases his insolence and is prevented from realizing his true nature. Pursuit of the matter in detail requires its expression in the person in a general way, so that this in turn be the motivation for recognizing imperfection on the one hand and for manifesting gratitude for a blessing on the other. So understand.
Okay, now, if you know that you are weak and you have a lot of shortage and God Almighty bestowed lots of bounties on you, so this would make you more close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you don't know what God Almighty bestowed on you, therefore, you're not going to benefit from that. You have to know. You have to go and search for what God Almighty bestowed on you. And if you don't do that, therefore, you're not going to know what's right, what's wrong, and you're not going to improve yourself. And therefore, when you go searching for those good things that Allah bestowed on you, you're going to start changing and improving yourself until you become in a good way. And you keep on thanking Allah and improving yourself. Okay? Zid?
Principle 190. The reason for examining the faults of the ego, nafs, and its manifestations and for being familiar with the intricacies, the intricacies of spiritual states, ahwal, is that the man might know himself, be humble vis-a-vis his Lord, and see his faults and shortcomings. Nevertheless, it is not in the power of man to be absolved of every fault by having it eradicated. For you could not reach God except after the annihilation of your bad qualities and the eradication of your pretensions. You would never reach Him, so understand. Apologies for sometimes a little making mistakes. I'm using
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal.
the writing is small.
The words are a bit difficult because we don't use them usually, and they're specific words actually. And yeah, no problem. That's normal. Subhanallah. Okay, now when you go searching for bad morals that you have in your ego, as he called, in your nafs, yourself, and you go, and this is actually the main idea of Sufism. It's to go dive inside your ego and see what is bad, take it off, and what is good, to put it. So you keep on. They call it takhliya or tahliya. Takhliya, it's you take off bad things. Tahliya, it's to put good things. Okay. So therefore, this is very important, and this is the main idea of the whole material that we're studying. Okay. But you can't take all of your shortage. You can't take all bad things from you. Why? Because human being is always less than he has to be. Nobody is complete except the Prophet ﷺ, or the Prophets, peace be upon them. But human beings aren't perfect at all. And then he mentioned here wisdom from the wisdoms of Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari, which he says, لو أنك لا تصل إلى الله إلا بعد فناء مساويك ومحو دعاويك لا تصل إليه أبدا. If you don't reach to Allah except when you purify yourself from all your shortage or your bad attitudes, you'll never reach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means anyone still has bad things in him. Never purify yourself, because you're never gonna. You make your best, you try, but you know that always you still have your problems and your shortages. Zaid? Yeah.
Principle 191. Discerning the source of suggestion. Excuse me, sorry, okay. Principle 191. Discerning the source of suggestive thoughts. Qwa'id is one of the tasks of contemplatives in order to remove distraction from the heart. There are four sources of thought: divine, Rabbani, which is direct and without means; psychical, nafsani; angelic, malaki. Excuse me. Is it malaki?
Malaki, or yeah.
Okay.
Angelic, yeah.
Okay. Malaki. Yes. So angelic, malaki, and satanic, shaitani. All of them occur with God's power, will, and knowledge. Thoughts of divine source are immovable and unchanging, like the psychical, and are directed towards a desired object or otherwise. What is concerned with strict unity is divine, whereas what is concerned with carnal desires is psychical. If it agrees with a legal principle without the intrusion of a special dispensation or whim, it is divine. Otherwise, it is psychical. Coolness and expansion of the heart follow the thought occurring from a divine source, whereas dryness and contraction follow the psychical. Okay. The divine is like a brilliant dawn, which is ever increasing in clarity, while the psychical is like a standing column, which remains in the same state, even if it gets smaller. As for the angelic and satanic thoughts, they are unstable. The angelic brings forth only good, while the satanic may bring forth good while causing confusion. The difference between the two is that the angelic is supported by proofs and is accompanied by the expansion of the heart and is strengthened by the remembrance dhikr of God. It, its effect is like the twilight, and it has a penetrative effect. This is in opposition to the satanic, which weakens remembrance, blinds one from seeing the truths, and is followed by heat accompanied by a burning, cloudiness, anxiety, and dullness in time, and laziness may even follow. The satanic emanates from the left side of the heart, while the angelic is from the right. The psychical is from the back of the heart, while the divine is from the opposite side. In reality, they are all divine, except that with respect to relationships, they are attributed to whatever they are related to. Otherwise, they are related to the divine by wisdom. The realization of this is only through intuition, for it has been said, he who understands what entered in himself will know what comes to his mind.
Okay. Okay, now when you have these ideas that keep on dropping on your head, you have to know, are these ideas rabbinic, divine, or these are satanic? How are you going to know the differences between those? So here he says that these are four ones. You have divine ones, you have something just from yourself, you have something that comes from angels, and you have someone that comes from devils, Satans. Everyone has its own attitudes. So the rabbinic, or the, not rabbinic, I translate it, I made it Arabic directly. The divine one, it's strong. It doesn't hesitate. And it comes with good things that you love. So when it comes in monotheism and stuff like that, well, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it comes from things that have to do with desires, that's from yourself. That's from yourself. But if it comes from the desires, but in a way that has an origin in the Sharia, so therefore it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it's something else, it's from yourself. And usually when it's a rabbinic one, you feel after that comfortable and happy, and you don't feel anything else. But when it comes from yourself, you might feel that you're not happy, you don't like that. So he says that the divine one, it's like the down, the real down that comes after it, you see the morning. But the one that comes from yourself, it's like the false down, that you don't see the morning after it. Now, what is the angelic and the satanic? These are two. But the angelic always comes with good things. The satanic always comes with bad things. But sometimes it can be problematic. Why? The Satan can tell you a good thing so that you can reach to a bad thing. The Satan is very weird and smart. So he doesn't come to you and tell you directly, commit a sin. No. He might tell you to do a good thing so that you can fall in a sin. How do you differentiate between them? Well, this needs from you to have a bit knowledge and see and think. Okay? And therefore he says that the first one, the angelic, you feel after that you're comfortable and happy. But the other one, if you keep on praising Allah and saying and doing your dhikr, it goes back, it lashes, it goes back, disappears. And he says that you feel that you're hot, and you feel that you might feel that you're not happy actually. And you might feel after that you're lazy, you feel lazy. And now he mentions here it comes from the right or the left of the heart. I don't know these different. How are you going to know that this idea came from the right or the left of the heart? Allahu A'lam. Anyway, so this is just to know what is the best, what is not best. Okay, now just I'll tell you something here. Now he went to a new section after this. This is actually a section. Let me just read this and give you the main idea without reading the English text because it's going to take a lot of time. 192. 192. Okay. He says here that you get affected and influenced by the stories that you see more than the ones that you hear. And therefore, it is said that stories are soldiers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthens your heart with those strengthens the heart of his servants by those stories. Do you find any proof about that in the Holy Quran? No, he says here that stories in general are more give you more effects and influence than giving you orders. I mean, when I just read, I tell you, you have to do, you're not allowed to do. Yes, you can get from that lessons. But when I tell you a story of a prophet, of a saint, of I don't know what, you hear the story more and it influences you more. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Hud, verse 120, وَكُلًّا نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الرُّسُلِ مَا نُثَبِّتُ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. We tell you the stories of the messengers that make your heart stand firm so that it won't hesitate. And that's why we get influenced by stories more than getting influenced by anything else. Okay. And then he says here that poetry is very good to encourage people, especially when it comes to things that encourage you to do good things. And that's why that he says that the Salaf, our Salaf, Sahaba and the Tabi'in and our ancestors, they didn't used to take care of poetry a lot unless it comes to encouraging people to do good things or praising the Prophet ﷺ or praising Allah Almighty. Okay? Okay, principle after that. Principle 193. He says everything you can give it its right or you can make it less than it has to be. As Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu says. So if you praise yourself and you give it the rights more than others, and you don't give the others their rights, you're not fair. It's like if you have a weight and you made it not fair. This is called tatfif. It's like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَيْلُ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ, woe to those who aren't balanced in their weights. So this is like you're not balanced in your weight. And the same thing goes by knowledge or by acting. But if you go adding good attitudes to yourself that you don't have, now here you're a big liar. And you're like a thief. And the Prophet ﷺ says, the one that claims things that Allah didn't give him, he's like wearing two garments of false garment, two false garments. And therefore he says, it's said that anyone who keeps on telling people the stories of the Salaf and claiming that he is the one that implements those stories, he would be an astray person. And the exams later on would show that he's a liar. He wasn't an honest person. Because when you claim things in yourself more than actually what you have, you're gonna have one day that you're gonna be you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose in the exam because the life is all exams. So there's a day that is gonna come, and you're gonna show there that you were a big liar. Okay? But on the other side, when you stand less than you are and you are humble and you always show that you're humble, one day people are going to know that you're higher than your real post that they used to think, or that you used to claim that's your post. Okay? Principle after that, 194. Okay, now when you say that so and so said something, if you give the same words that he said, that's fine. But if you don't say his words and you claim that he said something without any proof, you're close to be a liar. And if you say the meaning of it, which is similar to it, that's not a bad thing. That's perfect, because usually you don't memorize all what people say, but you mention what is close to what they said. Now, if you change something in a way that is accepted, no problem about that. But you have to show. For example, you added something, you omitted something. This happens a lot when you're editing a book or something like that. So this is very important to show. Don't claim things that are not there. Don't omit something from a book that is there. And don't add things that are not there. Okay? Okay. Principle about that. After that, principle 195. Okay, it's very important to use the same wordings, the same words that somebody used. Why? Because the words have a meaning, and every word has a meaning in it. And this is like when you are curious to have the same meaning. So therefore, if you're not going to use the wording, the same words, at least have the same meaning. And therefore, you have to know the language as it is. Or else, you're going to make something mistake. Either the first one or the second one. When you transfer the meaning from here to there, you either twist this or twist the first meaning. And that's why scholars always spoke about the mistakes of the laymans. And they showed how the words differ from a place to another, and the meanings of the words differ. Especially when the word is here in a language that is high language. And then when people start using other dialects, it changes. The meaning of the word changes, and even the word they use changes the whole meaning. And somebody might claim that so-and-so is kafir, or innovator, or deviant, because he couldn't say something, he couldn't mention what he wants to say. He couldn't mention it in a proper way. And this happens a lot to the Sufis, as the Sheikh says. And that's why many people cursed them and said bad things about them and accused them to be non-Muslims, like a lot of leaders of the Sufis. But actually, this is not the mistake of people or scholars. This is the mistake of the Sufis, who used words that aren't proper words. You see? And it might have another problem. The Sufis many times don't give the permission to do so and so, or to use a dhikr, except when the sheikh gives the permission. And if he doesn't give you the permission, you're not supposed to do that according to them. Or else, actually, in Islam, we don't have this exactly, because the Prophet ﷺ, when he taught people, that's it, that's fine. So you can't say, well, you say this or don't say this, or I give you the permission to use this, or I don't give you the permission to use this, unless he is a teacher that is training you. And when he trains you, he's training you, which means that he's trying to put you on the right path, okay? And sometimes there are some things that can be accepted from somebody and not accepted from the other person. And he says that we saw that a lot in a lot of books. Okay. Principle after that, 196. Okay, sometimes some of the Sufis give signs. They give signs. They don't give the whole meaning. So therefore, when they give signs and they don't give full meaning, therefore, you have to see what does he mean. So therefore, why do some people use signs rather than using full words? He says that the reason is that some people have some meanings in their heart and they can't stand, they don't have the patience to mention it as it has to be mentioned, so they just give these signs. Or they want to guide somebody in a way or another, or they have a wisdom to do that, and they know that there are people who are going to understand what they're saying, or they have a lot of meanings, so they just squeeze them in one meaning. And it's like, he says, like Ash-Shadhili, Abu al-Hasan Ash-Shadhili, rahimahullah, when he says Qaf, Jim are two, Qaf, Jim, two letters, are two secrets from your secret. And they give you a sign to others, to another. So what is Qaf, Jim here? So when you say Qaf, it means, it comes from the word farq. That means you separate something. And Jim is jam', when you combine between two things. And therefore, the Jim here combines like shafa' wal watr. And it's the end of the numbers, and Qaf is the highest thing. And he started mentioning things here so strange. So he kept on here mentioning things like this. And he mentions what are things that are always combined with each other, and what are things that are separated from each other. And then he mentions the qaf, how it looks like something, because when you write the qaf, it's circled, and the way it has a head, and it goes like that down. So it's Jim. No, the Jim, it goes down from the beginning, and he kept on mentioning these meanings. So it's a sign that gives some secrets under that sign. It gives secrets under that sign. Okay, I think I wanted to finish right now. But I think it's not going to be easy to finish. Leave it, inshallah. Next time we will finish, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Thank you very much being patient with me. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.